family class. This is something that, you touched on it a little bit before. It's always the one that's, like you said, it's heartbreaking to hear some of these cases where people can't, see their kids' first steps, hear their kids' first words, they're missing milestones. And on top of that, we know that, sometimes when, we're separating families, the hardships that it causes, even in the relationship, we've dealt with people who unfortunately divorced because of the whole separation. On top of that, this is also an opportunity for us with our economy the way it is. We could have someone else come here that could be a part of the workforce. I know we've talked about this a little bit before about family class. What do you think? What do you suggest for our family class?
I think there's a couple of basics that need to be implemented right away. Firstly, we need to have communication on a file, respectful communication that tells the individual that more than the form letters that we see that are automatically generated. So number one is we need to have communication and true understanding of where the file is at and what is necessary, what's holding it up. Number two is that where we have children, where we have clearly genuine relationships, a strong application, officers have the ability to issue a temporary resident visa or issue a temporary resident permit even to facilitate the reunification of families. So we don't see that. We see a lot of refusals instead. So we have these, again, platitudes, which is like, okay, well, an officer can consider a TRV in these circumstances. Well, the TRV is in a black hole as well. So this the black hole aspect of it, that applications go in and nothing comes out. And so that lack of communication is significant for families. The inability to secure TRVs, and again, this disproportionately impacts racialized individuals and certain countries. This doesn't really impact someone with a UK passport or a European passport or a visa-exempt country. So there's visa-exempt countries that don't require visas to come to Canada. That's about 50. But 120, 130 plus countries require visas to enter Canada, and that's the sticking point.
You talked about racialized individuals being the ones that are almost targeted. There was this very, very concerning report that came out just months ago that had to do with racism within IRCC itself. Is that something that have you heard about that report at all?
I saw it. I didn't delve too deeply into it because we've been just inundated and just trying to move files. The files that we have, there's plenty of systemic issues within IRCC. I think compounding the issue is that we don't have ministers of citizenship and immigration that stick around for too long.
That's right.
So when you become a minister, it will take you time. Of course, you're the critic now, so you understand how big this file is.
Yep.
So whether you talk about temporary residents to foreign nationals to permanent resident visas to permanent residents to citizenship, it's a big, big file.
Absolutely.
And so I would probably suggest that you need to leave ministers in place for a while so that they can get to learn the ropes.
It's so true. I mean, this is a point that I think a lot of people should be understanding, that the Liberals have been in power for 6 years, and we've had 4 different ministers, right?
I used to be an officer. I used to be a hearings officer with the Immigration Refugee Board for 2 years. I've practiced immigration law for 15 plus, 17 plus years. I've written a book on one aspect of immigration, inadmissibility law and remedies. I still learn every day. So I can only imagine how is it possible that an individual, a politician, is tasked with this mandate and is going to be up to speed in a matter of months. It's going to take time.
But does that lead to the point that they don't take the immigration file seriously, or is it just to keep things, is it piling things on when you have 4 different ministers over the last 6 years? Like, what does that symbolize? What does that say to you?
I don't know. Obviously, it's at odds with their messaging. Immigration is very important to Canada. We know that immigration is very important to the economy. We know that immigration is very important in terms of international students to the universities, and international students are disproportionately and essentially covering the cost or defraying the cost for our own students to go to university. International students probably contribute 10 billion plus to the economy. It's a very, very important file. I don't know. I can't speak obviously as to why we have a revolving door, what appears to be a revolving door in terms of immigration. We had Ahmed Hussein, who knew the file because he used to be an immigration lawyer. Then you had John McCallum. So again, John McCallum, and then
it was John McCallum first, and then
right. Then he became the ambassador to China, and so it deserves this ministry deserves, particularly during the pandemic, a steady hand at that tiller.